Busy week in the gaming news world. I definitely want to talk about Expedition 33 and the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster in separate dedicated videos. There's a lot going on, but the two news stories I wanted to talk about this week, which I take two news stories to dive into every Wednesday. The first is Ghost of Yotei, a new trailer, a release date, and a couple of interesting things I wanted to point out. So this new trailer essentially gives us more of a setup of the game, what the actual deal is here. While that first trailer was super vague, this one gives us a little bit of a full look at what's going on in Sucker Punch's latest. And once again, it's a revenge tale, which I find interesting because that was the whole theme of Tsushima. Obviously, it evolved from that, yes, but I'm curious to see how they're going to make this not feel like a retread. Essentially, it's this young girl, Atsu, her village is raided, and she is left for dead by this group of bad guys, these 6 people with iconic masks. She grows up, and she sets out to kill them. Pretty straightforward, stuff we've seen before, but I'm curious to see if they're holding something back from the trailers. Something that makes this stand out a little bit more than your standard old revenge tale. Good trailer, shows lots of violence, lots of revenge killing, the open world, more color, more vibrant biomes and stuff like that. All these different new weapon types, that spinny thing that was in Assassin's Creed Shadows, I forgot what it's called, to like kind of like a pole arm. Of course, the main character also is still featuring a musical instrument on her back. I still want to learn more about that. Some comments and stuff have pointed out that she's carrying around a cloth with like the list of her targets, and every time she kills one, she wipes the blood of her blade with that cloth with that person's name on it. Really cool little touches like that. Just like a spookier, creepier vibe than Ghost of Tsushima overall. I think it's really the mask. Honestly, that mask is doing wonders. But I did want to point out like the PlayStation blog, like every time like a Sony first party game, like a trailer drops, there's always a PlayStation blog that has a little bit more information. And there was some stuff I wanted to dive into. First is that it's Izo. So it's essentially what is the modern day Hokkaido area of Japan. But the PlayStation blog starts off like pretty much confirming that the stories are unrelated, Ghost of Tsushima to Ghost of Yotei. Obviously, we could tell from the first trailer there was a time jump, but I was curious to see if there was going to be some sort of through line or something like a legend of the ghost or something like that. That doesn't seem to be the case here. The PlayStation blog info also confirmed that like there's like weapon skills that you can learn and upgrade. There's a bounty system, and also there's the ability to set up a camp and a campfire anywhere out in the open world, wherever you want, which I think that's pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how they actually tie that in mechanically, other than just like a rest point. But with it focusing on those 6 bad guys, right? I'm curious to see. So the PlayStation blog did say you're free to tackle them however you want, whatever order, but I'm curious to see how they can make this feel different, right? Where these games excel, Sucker Punch in particular, like is character building and suspense and all that stuff. So if we get to spend a little bit more time with these 6 characters and they're not just essentially like a name on a list, like in other games that do this type of thing, I think that would be great if they can actually spend a lot of time with these individual 6 characters. Also, the end of the trailer showed a little bit of like a visual flip. It was like the main character walking and then a switch to a flashback of her as a young kid, something we saw in Ghost of Tsushima. We got to go back and see Jin Sakai's life as a child in a few sequences, but the PlayStation blog did confirm that this is actually a gameplay mechanic. That's what I thought when I saw the trailer. I was like, wait, is that a real-time switch between time periods? The PlayStation blog confirms that yes, that is a thing. We don't know how in-depth it is, but that could be interesting. That could be part of what I was talking about before with the whole like ace up its sleeve. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for stuff like that because as much as I love Ghost of Tsushima and I could totally take more of it, I want to see what's different, like why they're not just doing another game with Jin. It's a different time period, different location, different character, essentially the why. And I'm glad that we're starting to get a glimpse of it. I'll talk more about it in a sec, but first, a word from the sponsor. Hey, next up, this video is sponsored by Bombas. In my opinion, the god tier, the gold standard of socks. You gotta check these out. I'm a sucker for design and just the small things, and Bombas really gets it with the quality of their materials, the fact that their socks are incredibly comfortable, no seams that are annoying, breathable yet cozy. They've got it figured out, and that really applies to their entire line. T-shirts, socks for all different styles, but I've talked about Bombas in the past, but now specifically with the spring here and summer on the horizon, they have a lot of great seasonal options. They have athletic socks with sweat wicking material if that's your style, or maybe you like to rock some traditional half calves with some slides. They got you covered with the socks, but also with the slides. Personally, I've been rocking the men's Friday slide when I go outside with the dog and stuff, and I love them. But if you've been interested in Bombas, you've heard about the good word, but you haven't been able to get them, they now offer international shipping. Yes, they're shipping to 200 countries, so now maybe you can get in on the action. You can feel good with the socks, but also do good knowing that Bombas, of course, has the policy of one purchased equals one donated. With thanks to Bombas, over 150 million essential items donated to those who really need it. And if you're new, Bombas offers a 100% happiness guarantee, so now is the time to jump in. You can feel good and do good with Bombas knowing that your purchase is doing some real good. New customers get 20% off their first purchase when clicking the link in the description down below or heading to bombas.com/onjake20. When you're there, use code onjake20 at checkout. Again, that's bombas.com/onjake20, and don't forget when you're there to use code onjake20 at checkout. I'm gonna get back to being cozy. Big thanks to Bombas for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. And of course, last but certainly not least, I did bury the lead, I apologize, but the release date. It's getting like this fancy collector's edition that doesn't seem like it has the physical game, that typical shit. It's also going to be a $70 US game. It is releasing October 2nd, 2025. Things get delayed, you never know, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes because October isn't that far off, but, or is it? What month is it? What are we, April? We're almost May. Oh my God. As soon as this release date dropped, right, and it's going to keep happening, October 2nd, right? A lot of people were like, oh, what does that mean for Grand Theft Auto 6? Because everybody thinks Grand Theft Auto 6 is definitely going to be the fall. And we're looking at the developers that have, and publishers that have been very easy about their release dates because they are concerned about the fallout around Grand Theft Auto 6 when that drops. Not every game is like Grand Theft Auto 6. No, like they could be completely different genres, but a lot of developers, publishers rather, are still cognizant of when they're putting their game out because they want it to really have the room to breathe, so to speak, in both obviously sales, but also just like culture, so their advertising budgets go further, like all that types of stuff. So now things are kind of falling into place a little bit, right? Like we have Ghosts of Yotei for October 2nd, which, Grand Theft Auto, Take-Two, maybe they don't care about that release date, but who knows? But also more concrete, we have Borderlands 4, which was announced recently in a release date for September 23rd, 2025. So, GTA isn't coming September 23rd, right? I think it's safe to assume. Same publisher. They're not going to want to drop shit at the same time that they've invested in. So that's what we got. Again, it's not like changing too much, but, if you were just curious, at the way I'm looking at it right now, it's probably like I would expect a GTA 6 to release in maybe late October or not at all. Some people are still thinking, especially like some people behind the scenes, are still thinking that the game is not going to be out in 2025. But hey, we'll just have to wait and see. One other bit of news I wanted to share that I thought was interesting, especially if you like the inside baseball or the business type stuff behind the scenes. This is from VGC, Video Games Chronicle, breaking down Devolver Digital, the indie game publisher, essentially put out a ton of details about just how it's been going for them. In their investor presentation, we have the top 10, essentially 10 of its most successful first-party and third-party franchises, the ones that generated the most lifetime revenue. And according to its list from VGC, third-party release Cult of the Lamb is the publisher's most successful IP with total lifetime revenue of more than $90 million. Following up from that is Astroneer, Stronghold, and Serious Sam. And according to them, gamers are spending more time on known IPs as opposed to new IPs. Also in that top 10, Hotline Miami, Talos Principle, Gorn, Shadow Warrior, Enter the Gungeon. Good to see it, honestly. I actually expected, and I think it's just personal bias, Hotline Miami felt like such a big deal. I thought that would actually be higher on the list, but there's a lot of stuff here. And again, stuff that I'm not even experienced with. So it goes to show how some of the stuff goes beyond us. The fact that Stronghold and Astroneer are so huge for them, games I've barely heard about or touched. I don't know if that means I'm bad at my job, but yeah. I will say though, like if they are saying gamers are spending more time on known IPs as opposed to new IPs, which seems to be the case. That's why we see sequels and remasters and re-releases everywhere, right? I gotta say, one place where I'll take sequels is Hotline Miami. Definitely do that. Please, Devolver. But the fact that their number one game is Cult of the Lamb is really cool and extremely unexpected. When that game released, I absolutely loved it. Of course, I've talked about it a lot. And I'm curious to see just how it really latched on and got mainstream appeal, like how it sold that much. It's just kind of like out of my realm, out of my cone of vision, so to speak. They also did say that they are working with Nintendo Switch to work on Switch 2 games, and they said that the original Switch, they're doing this because the original Switch is their most successful console for unit sales. And that makes sense to me. Believe it or not, I've actually played a lot of Devolver games on Switch. Actually, now that I think about it, I played all of Cult of the Lamb on Switch, I believe. I got back into Enter the Gungeon big on Switch. So yeah, interesting. But I think at the end of the day, it also just goes to show Devolver Digital is solid. I think in terms of like them talking, and you should read up on it, like read the whole article and like read their statements and stuff, just talking about like right sizing development and investing properly and like doing smaller games and doing bigger games, and kind of like some of the bigger games are helping fund the smaller games, right? Like as a layman, as someone who doesn't understand a lot of this stuff, it's still how like I feel like it should go, or at least it's how I like to see things work. You know, games made sustainably, not rushed. People are paid to make them well, and people buy them and people enjoy them. They're just good, entertaining things. Like that's how it all should work in a perfect world. And not to glaze them up too much, but it does seem like Devolver, you know, with some misses here and there, is sort of figuring that out. And I'm glad, and I hope that they kind of can continue to set the standard. And I'm hoping maybe some of even the bigger guys can look at them and learn. But hey, maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. I don't know. But those are the two news stories I did want to dive into this week. Like I said, on the Friday news show, I talk about all the news on Game Ranks. Here every Wednesday, I like to just drill into some specific topics I found interesting. And in terms of a bonus thing, sometimes I bring a bonus thing for the news show. This week, all I have is the fact that, spoiler alert, I'm going to do a whole video on it, but Expedition 33 is very good. Consider this my early recommendation right now. I can't wait to talk about it in a full video. I've been playing it a shit ton for the last like week or so. It is very good, very well made. Has a couple of like little flaws here and there, and requires good timing, dodging and parrying and stuff like that for a turn-based RPG, right? But there's so much passion in it. The story is so interesting. The music is great. The combat is really, really cool. And if you like really being JRPG style, like stacking up attacks and buffs and debuffs and getting high damage numbers, this is like the ultimate endorphin rush for that. And of course, like I'm playing Oblivion at the same time, so it's crazy. Like two very different types of RPGs, but like I said at the start of this video, a good time to be eaten. But again, I want to save all that for more videos. I still need to spend more time with these games. But for now, let me know what you're thinking about everything we talked about, right? Specifically with Ghosts of Yotei, right? I know a lot of people are bummed, no Jin. And honestly, I am. I really need to see what the deal is here, justify why Jin's story is over, because I could have gotten a lot more Jin. He was essentially like the Batman of that universe by the end. So like I want to know what's up. But okay, so if it's this new character, I want to see what the real deal is, what other ideas they have up their sleeves, like the time shifting mechanics. So let me know what you think about that stuff. Let me know what you think about Devolver and it, sharing all this investor info and, the fact that Switch is their biggest thing. Does that make sense to you? And what's your favorite Devolver Digital game? Let's talk. Anything about the news down in the comments, hit me up. Like I said, keep your eyes peeled on this channel for videos on Oblivion and Expedition 33, probably some bleeding into next week, but I'm excited. So thank you for being here. If you like what I'm trying to do here, I'm just trying to talk about stuff I like, stuff I find interesting. Clicking the like button helps. Thank you. But I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.